With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, I'm naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, and here at Meow Greens, we're on a mission to provide better nutrition for all cats because truthfully, all cat food is dead food, which is why we created Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their dead food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more. All with a tasty formula that your cat will love. You can improve your cat's coat, digestion, and energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code MEOW. You just cover the shipping. Bring your pet's food back to life. Get your free Jumpstart trial bag. Go to meowgreens.com. Use promo code MEOW, MEOW. So good your cat will ask for it by name.
Oh, sorry, that's for a Democrat show.
Let me know when you're ready.
No matter what the technical difficulty is, this man is a professional. He goes all the way.
What you represent to them is freedom.
Was an extremely great conservative commentator. We're tearing it up on Wednesday night. This is awesome. This will allow me to retort.
Well, this is Jersey Joe for the Reaver of Common Sense show. 8 p.m. on shrmedia.com.
Actually, I just totally screwed up. This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome to the Reaver of Common Sense show. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm making sense out of the senseless. All right, President-elect Donald Trump will be holding his first press conference, and it is getting ready to start. And once it starts, we will be carrying the press conference live. Mike Pence will be on right after him. All right. And a quick bit of news. Darian Ruff has been sentenced to death. The scumbag who committed a heinous crime and killed, I think it was nine people in a church. It was absolutely disgusting, horrible, appalling. He represented himself was kind of stupid. He showed no remorse. In fact, he said he would do it again. He does not think what he did was evil. So, he will be getting a death penalty. The sooner, the better. Scumbags like that, he admitted to his guilt. He has no excuse. There is no, he was defending himself. He admitted he was doing it, but it was possible self-defense. There was all these, mitigating factors. There is none. He admitted he walked in, he did it. There is no excuse. That should be within minutes. After that trial, he should have been walked in and executed right there. No questions, no comments. That's where some of our adversaries have a better system. There's certain times that you don't need to be doing a massive amount of talking after a death penalty has been issued. I know I'm such an evil person for saying that. It's when it comes to this stuff, I have zero patience. Oh, trying to see where we're at. I'm sitting here just thinking about what that guy did, and it's absolutely disgusting. Now, formally this morning, will be sentenced, but yeah, the verdict's already came back. It's absolutely horrendous. It's horrendous what he did, not that he's sentenced to death. I don't want someone confusing that. He deserved worse than a simple death penalty, but I'm not saying he should live and rest of his life in prison. No, that shit is for the birds. I'm so sick of that. So sick of people committing these murders, and we coddle them and protect them. And no, you committed this heinous crime. Death. Done. No questions. No comments. Problem is, our government would abuse that system. When doesn't our government abuse a system like that? I was hoping that he would get on at a proper time. What goes on that causes them to be so late? Have you ever noticed that? They schedule press conferences and they're never there to be on time. So, all right, we're going to get on to the next little bit. Hillary Clinton's out running her mouth. And I think this is very important that people hear what she has to say. It is very important. She said that our country will weather every storm on the horizon. But she went on that if America stays true to its values, our country will weather, yada, yada. She went on to say democracy, freedom, and the rule of law are under attack around the world. Around the world. A rising tide of authoritarian and illiberalism threatens that foundation of post-World War II global era.
With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, I'm naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, and here at Meow Greens, we're on a mission to provide better nutrition for all cats because truthfully, all cat food is dead food, which is why we created Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their dead food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more. All with a tasty formula that your cat will love. You can improve your cat's coat, digestion, and energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code MEOW. You just cover the shipping. Bring your pet's food back to life. Get your free Jumpstart trial bag. Go to meowgreens.com. Use promo code MEOW. MEOW. So good your cat will ask for it by name.
Global error. She is more worried about the globalism than anything else. This is something I've talked about. This is a reason why she's lost. This is why a lot of politicians around the world are having major issues. They are pushing globalism. And the people, hello, Kel. That I did not and do not know. Get a hold of Sean. There might be a technical issue there, Cal. Around the world, it is happening. The people are not for the most part, people want borders. They like their countries. They like having nations. They don't want this one world government. They don't want any of that. And it's people around the world just want their countries. And the politicians, no, never say you're sorry, Kel. I know there's RSS feeds that we set up, and I'm wondering if something changed in the RSS feed that could have interfered with that. That's a little above my pay grade, or I should say knowledge base. And she also went on to say that history has a lot to teach us. It is also a reminder that we have our own challenges and our own opportunities. We should remember that the world looks to America as an indispensable nation, not just because of the size of our military. See, she had to throw a little dig at our military, that we don't need a big military. You got to pay attention to these little comments that are there, because that says a lot about who she is. All right, President-elect Donald Trump, I believe, is on his way, getting ready to come out. The parade of people are coming out right now, so like I said, as soon as he comes out, we will go over to the speech. Hillary went on to talk about or the strength of our economy. It looks to us because America stands for universal values, aspirations, and if we stay true to those values, like the best of the men and women whose leadership and service will be commemorated here, then our country will weather every storm on the horizon. Well, we're going to be a better country than we were. Period. We were on a downward spiral. I don't give a shit what this... Yeah, I got some of that set up for a little bit later, Kel. Definitely we'll be talking about that. The Jeff Sessions, absolutely ridiculous. And they continue today. I was just watching the Rex Tillman, is it? Confirmation right before. You know what? These protesters look like idiots, number one. They really do look like idiots. And number two, I mean, even some of the politicians were sitting there shaking their head because it makes their side look like idiots. I don't understand it. They know they're going to get thrown out. They're not going to be able to do what. Do they think, oh, wow, look at the protest. We're going to give them, we're going to just let them interfere with our hearing. Freaking idiots. What was it? I read an article recently. You got all these protesters that said they're going to protest the inauguration of Donald Trump. Well, here's the problem with that. That's going to commence on federal land, the inauguration. You can't, you have free speech, you have all that, but you can't really be interrupting those types of events without some kind of blowback. It's going to be worse if you try to interfere with an inauguration. And it's going to make the left look even more childish. All right, Donald Trump just walked out. They're getting announced. Let's head on over.
Some remarks. He will introduce Ms. Sherry Dillon, a prominent attorney in Washington, D.C. with the prestigious firm of Morgan Lewis, who structured the agreements pursuant to the president's business arrangements, and she will give brief remarks. Before we start, I want to bring your attention to a few points on the report that was published in BuzzFeed last night. It's frankly outrageous and highly irresponsible for a left-wing blog that was openly hostile to the president-elect's campaign to drop highly salacious and flat-out false information on the internet just days before he takes the oath of office. According to BuzzFeed's own editor, there are some serious reasons to doubt the allegations in the report. The executive editor of the New York Times also dismissed the report by saying it was, quote, totally unsubstantiated, echoing the concerns that many other reporters expressed on the internet. The fact that BuzzFeed and CNN made the decision to run with this unsubstantiated claim is a sad and pathetic attempt to get clicks. The report is not an intelligence report, plain and simple. One issue that the report talked about was the relationship of three individuals associated with the campaign. These three individuals, Paul Manafort, Michael Cohen, and Carter Page. Carter Page is an individual who the president-elect does not know and was put on notice months ago by the campaign. Paul Manafort has adamantly denied any of this involvement, and Michael Cohen, who is said to have visited Prague in August.
Real quick, what this is about, CNN ran an article last night, yesterday afternoon, to the point that Al Franken came on to the confirmation hearing for Sessions and brought it up. They're saying that Russia has valuable information to blackmail Donald Trump, and it was very vague. An ex-MI6 officers and all this information's been turned over to FBI. And it's coming out that it was all false. CNN ran with a huge fake story.
It's based on some of the most flimsy reporting, and it's frankly shameful and disgraceful. With that, it is my honor to introduce the next Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence.
That was like a huge... Oh, that's not good for CNN.
We are 9 days away from the inauguration of the 45th President of the United States of America. I am profoundly honored and humbled that I will take the oath of office to serve as Vice President of the United States 9 days from today, but I'm even more honored to stand shoulder to shoulder with a new president who will make America great again. Now,
real quick, as much as I rag on Dianne Feinstein, she just had a pacemaker installed. I know she was at the Sessions hearings yesterday, and I just want to wish her a healthy recovery.
And even more inspiring to see the way he has brought together men and women of extraordinary capability at a historic pace in this cabinet. 19 of the 21 cabinet officials have been announced. 9 committee hearings already scheduled, 7 more soon to go on the books in the next several days. And it is a compilation of men and women with an unprecedented caliber of leadership and background to help this administration move our nation forward. Perhaps that's why there's been such a concerted effort by some in the mainstream media to delegitimize this election and to demean our incoming administration. You know, I have long been a supporter of a free and independent press, and I always will be. But with freedom comes responsibility. And the irresponsible decision of a few news organizations to run with a false and unsubstantiated report when most news organizations resisted the temptation to propagate this fake news can only be attributed to media bias, an attempt to demean the president-elect and our incoming administration, and the American people are sick and tired of it. But today, we'll get back to real news, to real facts, and the real progress our incoming president has already made in reviving the American economy and assembling a team that will make America great again. And we'll hear from the president-elect about issues that are of paramount importance to the American people today. So it is my honor to introduce to all of you my friend and the president-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Thank you very much. It's very familiar territory, news conferences, because we used to give them on a almost daily basis. I think we probably maybe won the nomination because of news conferences, and it's good to be with you. We stopped giving them because we were getting quite a bit of inaccurate news, but I do have to say that, and I must say that I want to thank a lot of the news organizations here today, because they looked at that nonsense that was released by maybe the intelligence agencies. Who knows? But maybe the intelligence agencies, which would be a tremendous blot on their record if they in fact did that. A tremendous blot. Because a thing like that should have never been written, it should never have been had, and it should certainly never have been released. But I want to thank a lot of the news organizations, for some of whom have not treated me very well over the years, a couple in particular, and they came out so strongly against that fake news and the fact that it was written about by primarily one group and one television station. So I just want to compliment many of the people in the room. I have great respect for the news and great respect for freedom of the press and all of that, but I will tell you there were some news organizations, with all that was just said, that were so professional, so incredibly professional, that I've just gone up a notch as to what I think of you, okay? All right. We've had some great news over the last
Sorry, that was funny to me.
Couple of weeks. I've been quite active, I guess you could say, in an economic way for the country. A lot of car companies are going to be moving in. We have other companies. Big news is going to be announced over the next couple of weeks about companies that are going to be building in the Midwest. You saw yesterday Fiat, Chrysler, big factory going to be built in this country as opposed to another country. Ford just announced that they stopped plans for a $1 billion plant in Mexico, and they're going to be moving into Michigan and expanding very substantially an existing plant. I appreciate that from Ford. I appreciate it very much from Fiat Chrysler. I hope that General Motors will be following, and I think they will be. I think a lot of people will be following. I think a lot of industries are going to be coming back. We have to get our drug industry coming back. Our drug industry has been disastrous. They're leaving left and right. They supply our drugs, but they don't make them here to a large extent. And the other thing we have to do is create new bidding procedures for the drug industry, because they're getting away with murder. Pharma has a lot of lobbies, a lot of lobbyists, and a lot of power. And there's very little bidding on drugs. We're the largest buyer of drugs in the world, and yet we don't bid properly. And we're going to start bidding, and we're going to save billions of dollars over a period of time. and we're going to do that with a lot of other industries. I'm very much involved with the generals and admirals on the airplane, the F-35. You've been reading about it. And it's way, way behind schedule and many, many billions of dollars over budget. I don't like that. And the admirals have been fantastic. The generals have been fantastic. I've really gotten to know them well. And we're going to do some big things on the F-35 program and perhaps the F-18 program. And we're going to get those costs way down. And we're going to get the plane to be even better. And we're going to have some competition, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. So we've been very, very much involved, and other things. We had Jack Ma. We had so many incredible people coming here. Mr. Arnaud. They're going to do tremendous things in this country. And they're very excited. And I will say, if the election didn't turn out the way it turned out, they would not be here. They would not be in my office. They would not be in anybody else's office. They'd be building and doing things in other countries. So there's a great spirit going on right now, a spirit that many people have told me they've never seen before, ever. We're going to create jobs. I said that I will be the greatest jobs producer that God ever created. And I mean that. I'm going to work very hard on that. We need certain amounts of other things, including a little bit of luck. But I think we're going to do a real job. And I'm very proud of what we've done. And we haven't even gotten there yet. I look very much forward to the inauguration. It's going to be a beautiful event. We have great talent, tremendous talent. And we have all of the bands, or most of the bands, from the different segments of the military. And I've heard some of these bands over the years. They're incredible. We're going to have a very, very elegant day. The 20th is going to be something that will be very, very special, very beautiful. And I think we're going to have massive crowds because we have a movement. It's a movement like the world has never seen before. It's a movement that a lot of people didn't expect. And even the polls, although some of them did get it right, but many of them didn't. And that was a beautiful scene on November 8th. As those states started to pour in. And we focused very hard on those states, and they really reciprocated. And those states are going to have a lot of jobs, and they're going to have a lot of security. They're going to have a lot of good news for their veterans. And by the way, speaking of veterans, I appointed today the head secretary of the Veterans Administration, David Shulkin. And we'll do a news release in a little while, tell you about David. He's fantastic. He's fantastic. He will do a truly great job. One of the commitments I made is that we're going to straighten out the whole situation for our veterans. Our veterans have been treated horribly. They're waiting in line for 15, 16, 17 days. Cases where they go in and they have a minor early stage form of cancer and they can't see a doctor. By the time they get to the doctor, they're terminal. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So David is going to do a fantastic job. We're going to be talking to a few people also to help David. And we have some of the great hospitals of the world going to align themselves with us on the Veterans Administration, like the Cleveland Clinic, like the Mayo Clinic, a few more that we have. And we're going to set up a group. These are hospitals that have been the top of the line, the absolute top of the line. And they're going to get together with their great doctors. Dr. Toby Cosgrove, as you know, from the Cleveland Clinic, has been very involved. Ike Perlmutter has been very, very involved, one of the great men of business. And we're going to straighten out the VA for our veterans. I've been promising that for a long time. And something I feel very, very strongly. So you'll get the information on David, and I think you'll be very impressed with the job he does. We looked long and hard. We interviewed at least 100 people, some good, some not so good, but we had a lot of talent, and we think this selection will be something that will, with time, straighten it out, and straighten it out for good, because our veterans have been treated very unfairly. Okay, questions? Yes, John? Thank you. Sure.
First of all, did they get to the intelligence agency ordered the hack of the DNC and the attempted hack of the RNC? And if you do, how will that color your attempts to build a relationship with a leader who has been accused of committing an act of espionage against the United States?
These meetings, as you know, are confidential, classified, so I'm not allowed to talk about what went on in a meeting. But we had many witnesses in that meeting, many of them with us. And I will say again, I think it's a disgrace that information would be let out. I saw the information, I read the information outside of that meeting. It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen. And it was gotten by opponents of ours, as you know, because you reported it, and so did many of the other people. It was a group of opponents that got together, sick people, and they put that crap together. So I will tell you that not within the meeting, but outside of the meeting, somebody released it. It should never have been, number one, shouldn't have even entered paper, but it should never have been released. But I read what was released, and I think it's a disgrace. I think it's an absolute disgrace. As far as hacking, I think it was Russia, but I think we also get hacked by other countries and other people. And I can say that, you know, when we lost 22 million names and everything else that was hacked recently, they didn't make a big deal out of that. That was something that was extraordinary. That was probably China. We have much hacking going on. And one of the things we're going to do, we have some of the greatest computer minds anywhere in the world that we've assembled. You saw just a sample of it 2 weeks ago up here where we had the 6 top people in the world. They were never in the same room together as a group. And we're going to put those minds together, and we're going to form a defense. And I have to say this also. The Democratic National Committee was totally open to be hacked. They did a very poor job. They could have had hacking defense, which we had. And I will give Reince Priebus credit, because when Reince saw what was happening in the world and with this country, he went out and went to various firms and ordered a very, very strong hacking defense. And they tried to hack the Republican National Committee, and they were unable to break through. We have to do that for our country. It's very important.
Your attempts to build a better relationship with President Putin?
Well, you know, President Putin and Russia put out a statement today that this fake news was indeed fake news. They said it totally never happened. Now, somebody would say, oh, of course he's going to say that. I respected the fact that he said that. And I'll be honest, I think if he did have something, they would have released it. They would have been glad to release it. I think, frankly, had they broken into the Republican National Committee, I think they would have released it, just like they did about Hillary and all of the horrible things that her people, like Mr. Podesta, said about her. I mean, what he said about her was horrible. If somebody said about me what Podesta said about Hillary, I was the boss, I would have fired him immediately, or that person, because what he said about her was horrible. But remember this, we talk about the hacking, and hacking's bad, and it shouldn't be done. But look at the things that were hacked. Look at what was learned from that hacking. That Hillary Clinton got the questions to the debate and didn't report it? That's a horrible thing. That's a horrible thing. Can you imagine that if Donald Trump got the questions to the debate, it would have been the biggest story in the history of stories. And they would have said, immediately you have to get out of the race. Nobody even talked about it. It's a very terrible thing. Yeah.
On that intelligence report, the second part of their conclusion was that Vladimir Putin ordered it because he aspired to help you in the election. Do you accept that part of the finding? And will you undo what President Obama did to punish the Russians for this, or will you keep it in place?
If Putin likes Donald Trump, I consider that an asset, not a liability, because we have a horrible relationship with Russia. Russia can help us fight ISIS, which, by the way, is, number one, tricky. I mean, if you look, this administration created ISIS by leaving at the wrong time. The void was created, ISIS was formed. If Putin likes Donald Trump, guess what, folks? That's called an asset, not a liability. Now, I don't know that I'm going to get along with Vladimir Putin. I hope I do, but there's a good chance I won't. And if I don't, do you honestly believe that Hillary would be tougher on Putin than me? Does anybody in this room really believe that? Give me a break. Okay.
Obama steps where you keep on make clear whether during your visits to either Moscow or St. Petersburg you engaged in conduct that you now regret, and that a reasonable observer say that you are potentially vulnerable to blackmail by Russia or by its intelligence agencies?
Let me just tell you what I do. When I leave our country, I'm a very high-profile person, would you say? I am extremely careful. I'm surrounded by bodyguards. I'm surrounded by people. And I always tell them, anywhere, but I always tell them, if I'm leaving this country, be very careful, because in your hotel rooms, and no matter where you go, you're going to probably have cameras. I'm not referring just to Russia, but I would certainly put them in that category. And number one, I hope you're going to be good anyway. But in those rooms, you have cameras in the strangest places. Cameras that are so small with modern technology, you can't see them and you won't know. You better be careful, or you'll be watching yourself on nightly television. I tell this to people all the time. I was in Russia years ago with the Miss Universe contest, which did very well. Moscow, the Moscow area, did very, very well. And I told many people, be careful, because you don't want to see yourself on television. Cameras all over the place. And again, not just Russia, all over. Does anyone really believe that story? I'm also very much of a germaphobe, by the way. Believe me.
About how you plan to disentangle yourself from your business. But first, I have to follow up on some of these Russia remarks. Based on your comments here today, do you believe the hacking was justified? Does Russia have any leverage over you, financial or otherwise?
Oh, here we go.
Will you release your tax returns to prove it?
Same question that came out with that report, the leverage Russia will have over.
I have no deals in Russia. I have no deals that could happen in Russia because we've stayed away. And I have no loans with Russia. As a real estate developer, I have very, very little debt. I have assets that are, and now people have found out how big the company is. I have very little debt. I have very low debt. But I have no loans with Russia at all. And I thought that was important to put out. I certify that. So I have no deals. I have no loans. And I have no dealings. We could make deals in Russia very easily if we wanted to. I just don't want to because I think that would be a conflict. So I have no loans, no dealings, and no current pending deals. Now, I have to say one other thing. Over the weekend, I was offered $2 billion to do a deal in Dubai with a very, very, very amazing man, a great, great developer from the Middle East, Hussein Damak, a friend of mine, great guy, and was offered $2 billion to do a deal in Dubai, number of deals. And I turned it down. I didn't have to turn it down because, as you know, I have a no-conflict situation because I'm president, which is, I didn't know about that until about 3 months ago, but it's a nice thing to have. But I don't want to take advantage of something. I have something that others don't have. Vice President Pence also has it. I don't think he'll need it. I have a feeling he's not going to need it. But I have a no conflict of interest provision as president. It was many, many years old. This is for presidents because they don't want presidents getting, I understand, they don't want presidents getting tangled up in minutiae. They want a president to run the country. So I could actually run my business. I could actually run my business and run government at the same time. I don't like the way that looks, but I would be able to do that if I wanted to. I'd be the only one that would be able to do that. You can't do that in any other capacity. But as a president, I could run the Trump Organization, great, great company, and I could run the company, the country. I do a very good job, but I don't want to do that. Now, all of these papers that you see here, yes, go ahead, Haley. Sure.
Do you believe the hacking was justified, and will you release your tax returns to prove what you're saying about no deals in Russia?
Well, I'm not releasing the tax returns because, as you know, they're under audit. Oh, gee, I've never heard that.
From the IRS, the last 6 have released them, but
I've never heard that.
The only one that cares about my tax returns are the reporters, okay? They're the only ones. But no, I don't think so. I mean, I became president. No, I don't think they care at all. I don't think they care at all. I think you care. I think you care.
The
First of all, you
paperwork
learn
he
very little from a
filed
tax
to
return. What you should do is go down
run
to
for
federal
president
elections
had
and
more
take a look at the
financial
numbers.
information
And actually,
than
people have learned a lot
tax
about my
returns
company.
would show.
And now they
Tax
realize
returns
my
aren't going to
company is
show.
much bigger, much more powerful than
God.
they ever thought. We're in many, many countries, and I'm very proud of it. And what I'm going to be doing is my two sons, who are right here, Don and Eric, are going to be running the company. They are going to be running it in a very professional manner. They're not going to discuss it with me. Again, I don't have to do this. They're not going to discuss it with me. And with that, I'm going to bring up Sherry Dillon, and she's going to go, these papers are just some of the many documents that I've signed, turning over complete and total control to my sons.
The stack of paperwork that's there is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Good morning. It's my honor and privilege.
It's probably
to be
about
here today
a quarter
at President-elect
of the
Trump's
Obama
request.
care
He's
paperwork.
asked me, as you just heard, to speak about the conflicts of interest. And
All
the
right, we're going to
steps
cut
he's
out of this.
taking.
And
as you know, the business.
it's the reporters are predictable. It's the same BS over and over again. It's ridiculous. They're trying to create conflict where there is no conflict. It's ridiculous. I'm sick of these reporters. It's the same crap over and over and over again. Enough, please. And he answered about this fake news out of CNN. And I read it last night. I didn't even add it to the Today Show. While Trump was talking, I lined up some articles to talk about tomorrow. I looked at it, and my simple mind could see this was a bullshit article filled with straight out lies. Well, we got an MI6 retired spy who says he turned over this information. All this information was turned over to the FBI in something like August. If that information was turned over, and it said it was turned over to President-elect, it was turned over, President Obama, all this information was turned over, everybody knew about it, that information would have leaked out during the election to hurt Trump. The bias of CNN is clouding their judgment to do their job properly. The left talks about fake news. They're the creator of fake news. I've reported multiple times that 80% of these fake conservative sites are owned by a liberal. He puts them out there, creates these fake stories, and then his main liberal site corrects it and makes him look like him and the liberals are the justified smarty smart pants. And then you have CNN pulling a stunt like this. Please. We got to go to break. You're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio. We will be right back.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Good morning.
I'm Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Okay, folks, that's not how it goes. I think I'm Shannon, and
I
you're
think so.
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. We are The Right Way with Shannon and Mike.
Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Live on SHR Media.
And on TECN.
Where we'll be talking about all kinds of things.
From sports and politics.
To food and entertainment.
To money.
Family.
And anything else in between.
Community, holidays, all kinds of things.
It'll be great. Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Now, at Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our Gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. We also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cow for the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mutt Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the Unpleasant Blind Guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe. I'm trying to make sense out of the senseless, but there's always a big but. And I cannot lie. They're going over more of the information on the transfer of the company, yada yada yada, yada 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 yada. It is what it is, and I don't believe there's going to be a conflict of interest. I'm so sick of the bullshit. It's tiresome. It's the same crap, different day. And it's over and over and over again. Now, I'll have to see. I've seen a lot of, excuse me about this cuss word coming up. I've seen a lot of fucked up shit in my life. A lot. But I saw a new high. And I don't want, I beg people, don't go watch it. ISIS started 2017 with a video, and I'd have to say it's one of the sickest, disgusting, vile piece of work I've ever seen. First of all, it shows several men being murdered. There's no censoring. Yeah, the toddler one. It starts out, they have like a, I would say about anywhere for a 10 to a 13-year-old. And the guy is strapped down in some kind of spinny carnival ride thing. And this kid, without hesitation in the video at least, no emotion on his face, cuts the guy's head off with a buck knife. Then it goes to another one, and this kid was like 4 or 5 years old. He walks up to another guy chained to like a fence or something like that, and handed a gun, and this little toddler starts firing shots in the guy's head. And the shots are so ill-placed. Guy gets shot in the head, it doesn't kill him right away. And the little toddler starts screaming, Allah Akbar. And then it shows another kid that was, I would say, about 7, 8 years old. And that guy's strapped down and given a knife. And the horror that you see in this guy's eyes. As the throat gets slit and just keeps cutting and cutting and cutting. And the guy's kicking his legs. And then you see as it got so far. You see when it hits the spinal column because the legs stop moving. How do we combat against that? How do we fight against a group that is so sick that they're training their children? They are raising psychopaths. We've had issues in the Middle East. We've had issues with China, Japan. We had a very long Cold War with Russia. World War II with the Nazis. Nazis did some unspeakable things. But this is even something even Satan's sitting there going, this is beyond me. This is beyond disgust. How do we combat against something like that? That one's an absolute. I think we got to change our tactics. We got to change a lot of things because that is just unbelievable. I'm honestly speechless at this point. I've said it. I'm not trying to attack all of Muslims. But this whole this takes the cake. This really does. This is where we need the Muslim Middle East to step up and scream timeout. This is beyond reproach. This is beyond even the battle of religions that we've been fighting. I don't even see an Al-Qaeda or Taliban going to that point. I really don't see them. I'm not trying to praise, but I don't see. I mean, this would explain why the Taliban kicked, or was it Al-Qaeda kicked these people out of their organization for being just too violent. It's not even too violent. That's just... How the hell can you sit there and do that to your child? I understand they have hatred, but that's beyond anything I could ever think of. Beyond. All right. On the other side of the break, we're going to get into Jeff Sessions. I'm still sorry. I did. Those videos were. Well, I got something else to bring up. Then we're going to get into the Jeff Sessions confirmation hearing and the circus that surrounded it. So you're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio. We will be right back.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Good morning.
I'm Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Okay, folks, that's not how it goes. I think I'm Shannon, and
I
you're
think so.
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. We are The Right Way with Shannon and Mike.
Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Live on SHR Media.
And on TECN.
Where we'll be talking about all kinds of things.
From sports and politics.
To food and entertainment.
To money.
Family.
And anything else in between.
Community, holidays, all kinds of things.
It'll be great. Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Now, Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our Gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. And we also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying cop for the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mutt Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm trying to make sense out of the senseless. Remember, the Jersey Takeovers here. We have expanded to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yep, we're here. All right. Trump's going over a couple things. Damn, I'm also looking at the screen. It just... I know I'm not the smartest man in the world. I know I'm not dumb either. I'm not saying that. I saw that CNN report, and I just started laughing last night. Not because I'm a Trump supporter, but because of the fact that I have a brain on my shoulder, and I know how to use it. unnamed sources, anonymous sources, retired MI6 spy. If that was a movie, I wouldn't have even seen the movie because it sounded so stupid and corny. Hang on. Brain fart. I've read that report, and it was full of too much. And they even admit they questioned the authenticity of some of the information, but they still ran with this fictitious story, knowing that it would push this false and straight out lie. People would be, oh, look at that, because most people read the headlines, and that's as far as they go, and that's what they went with. But that's for tomorrow's show. It's just, I can't believe. And it's doing what it's doing. It's breaking off from discussions. Trump brought up about the wall. And here's a little fact for you. The estimated cost of the wall would be around the range of anywhere from $12 billion to $38 billion. That's even the high end of that range at $38 billion is much less than our government spends annually on even much less useful endeavors. And that would be, ready for this? We'll take Obamacare. They're saying we will spend $1.34 trillion on that destroyed abortion, if I ever saw one. 2016 Obamacare numbers. You ready for this? $110 billion just for 2016. 2016, we spent $110 billion. But you're talking a high end of $38 billion to build a wall. And yes, in some sections it would be a fence to secure our border. And well, there's farmers and there's ranchers that own land across that area. And I can't speak for everyone, but I've heard multiple ones, and they all said the same thing. They all said the same thing. They would welcome it. They wake up every day thankful they're alive. When they go out to do their work, they do it in fear. In Arizona, not far from where a good friend of mine's father lives, a gentleman walked out of his house in the morning to go to the mailbox. Took a bullet in the head. Why? Because there were some illegal aliens passing nearby. They thought the guy saw them and feared that he would call the police, so they shot the guy in his head for going to his mailbox. But yeah, we don't need to secure the border. The media doesn't talk about those incidents. And that happens more than anybody cares to admit. And as I've said repeatedly, as much as I care about Canada, we need to do borders along the north too. Make sure nothing's getting into Canada that shouldn't be, and nothing can get in from Canada either. So, yeah, I mean, you sit there and talk about how, oh, God. And like I said, Canada, or Cal, it goes both ways. I don't want to see shit that might get into our country, get into your country, and wreak havoc, and vice versa. But the cost compared to this, and we hear Democrats right now trying to uphold Obamacare. $110 billion it cost us in 2016. And that'll be every year that this disgusting monstrosity is on the books, where building the border will be a one-time. There'll be maintenance over years. There'll be jobs created from it, but it's not going to be billions of dollars every year. It'll just be that cost and done. And yes, Mexico will be paying for it. And it's very easy. You put taxes on the border for them coming in, not something extraordinarily high, and you take that money and put it right back in. It's just unbelievable. All right, enough on that crap. Oh, and real quick, $38 billion to build a wall. Our food stamp program was $50 billion, and it went to $74 billion under President Obama. Look at those numbers. Just check that number out and think about it. And I'm not against helping people. I'm not. But, and this is a big but, oh yeah, get rid of friggin' NAFTA. That thing's gone. We're giving residents of Mexico, living in Mexico, and using them in Mexico, food stamps. We're paying money for Mexicans to be on a food stamp program where they're buying that food in Mexico. They're residents of Mexico. It's not like they're illegal immigrants in the United States. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actual physical residents of Mexico, living in Mexico, residents, citizens, getting American food stamps. And you wonder where the waste goes. It makes me shake my head. It really does. And now I'm laughing real quick because Outnumbered just popped on. You have Brett Baer as the outnumbered guy, and he just looked so uncomfortable on that couch. Oh, there's so many different ways, Kel, that you could add taxes that to pay for the wall. A tax on money being transferred back into Mexico, where they're making the money in the United States, transferred back into Mexico to the families for them to spend. So it's and Jake Tapper on Monday's broadcast of CNN's The Lead, Jake Tapper asked if Russia's hacking of various Democrat officials, isn't that a huge failure of the Obama administration? It happened underneath his watch. And I'm absolutely floored. This is Obama. This is Obama. He admitted he knew the hacking was going on. This is not Trump. They're trying to deflect it onto Trump. But this is all Obama. With that, it's time for a quick break. You're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio. We will be right back.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Good morning.
I'm Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Okay, folks, that's not how it goes. I think I'm Shannon, and
I
you're
think so.
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. We are The Right Way with Shannon and Mike.
Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Live on SHR Media.
And on TECN.
Where we'll be talking about all kinds of things.
From sports and politics.
To food and entertainment.
To money.
Family.
And anything else in between.
Community, holidays, all kinds of things.
It'll be great. Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Now, Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our Gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. We also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying cop for the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mutt Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm trying to make sense out of the senseless. And I have a very special guest that hasn't called in a long time. Welcome to the show, Sackhead Sean.
Having me, buddy.
Ah, you know it's any time. It's been a long time since you called in. Glad to have you in.
Yeah, I know. Well, first and foremost, it's hard to get on this show now. You know, it used to be back in the day that I didn't have to, schedule it in with you because you had time. But, you know, between BZ and everybody else, and you're getting so damn popular that I actually... And, you know, not for nothing, I own the network. You would think I'd be able to call at any given moment. But
I know.
No, I get your secretary, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know if we can get you on today, maybe tomorrow." But hey, you know what? Best of luck, champ. You know what? I deal with it, Joe. I deal with it. Oh, what a great press conference this morning, huh?
Oh yeah, I loved it. We were playing it live as soon as he went up.
Yep.
Now I did cut it out after he had, I forget her name, the female that came up to talk about the business transfer. I didn't go back afterwards.
Oh, the lawyer.
Yeah. I didn't go back afterwards. I know there was some important stuff that he talked about, but I missed it. So go ahead.
Accolades for the lawyer bit. And not bit. I don't mean that like it was made up, but instead of him coming out and explaining it, he had the lawyer come out and explain the legal and layman's terms for it. And really, you know, if you're trying to get people to stop questioning something, to have all of the legal specificity thrown in by an attorney versus the president-elect, who I'm not saying he's at all unable to explain it, but I think it just adds validity to what he's doing will keep him on the up and up with his business and his new position as president.
Yep.
And I think I think that was a very, very brilliant move, actually, to say, hey, it's not out of my mouth. Here's my attorney, and she's going to explain it to you. I thought that was pretty damn smart, actually.
Yeah. Have it come directly of, the legal needs, so it kind of goes over the reporters' heads, and
yeah, but when they finally digest it, and when they finally get people smarter than most of these reporters that are out there to explain it to them, it's not, at least from the way it sounded to me, it's not going to leave too many gaps for questioning, which I think is just great. I mean, I think he did a good job. That was one of the major questions that people had after he was elected as, hey.
Yeah, but they'll create gaps. They will create gaps to create controversy. I mean, we saw it with that CNN report. They will create news just to create controversy.
Yeah. And,
uh-oh.
I think
you there, Sean?
He's got to watch a little bit. He's got to get to that presidential tone sometimes. In which at times he had it here and he's had it, recently in the past. But I think one of the things that he did really, really well is, hey, I'm still not letting up on the media. When you guys are throwing this crap out there, I'm going to call you on it. And until you can prove otherwise, it's crap.
Yeah, but I liked how he also gave several news agencies a little bit of credit today and said, hey, you even called it out. You don't like me, but you even called it out. BS on that story.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's huge. And look, it's going to take a while for the so-called mainstream media, the lamestream media, to actually give him a little bit of credit for things versus just going right after the negative. And that's fine. I think he's a smart enough man, and he has a smart enough group of people around him to know that's coming. But when he does little things like that, like, hey, you know what? You didn't screw this one up. Here's a cookie, so to speak. I think that's actually going to help him long term. But it also shows, unlike current presidents, it also shows that, hey, he's not afraid, even if he's at odds with this media, to say when they've done something right.
Yeah.
This current president, everyone who didn't disagree with him was wrong, and they were monsters, and they were lying. And everyone forgets this president went after the so-called right media, Fox, and all the other ones on a regular basis. And what we're seeing now is a soon-to-be Republican president that's doing the exact same thing against the left. Only this time, it seems like it's warranted. I mean, you give the election, you give the polls, you give everything that they were saying trying to get Hillary elected. And even now with the ridiculous story from CNN, which is just it was so so far gone it wasn't even funny, Joe.
Yeah. I saw it last night because Frank, damn, I can't think of his name, the comedian senator for the Democrats, Al Franken.
Al Franken.
He came out during the Sessions confirmation hearing and brought this up. So he's like, this just broke. And so I pulled it up. I started reading it. I'm going, this is utter. I wouldn't even see it if it was a movie. It was so stupid and fake. That's how many holes it had in it. I was just like, holy snikes.
Well, and that's the funny part about the left, and we've seen it more and more. They're so frantic right now, and they're so just in a tizzy. I mean, to say panties in a bunch is an understatement, Joe. Yeah. They're so nervous right now that they're willing to throw any lump of junk out there that they possibly can in an effort to disparage everybody who disagrees. Because look at, that's how they ran the last 8 years, right? That's how they did business the last 8 years, and nobody was even calling them out, and to a point even on Fox on some point.
The president wiretapped the news agency, and they thought it was acceptable.
Right. I mean, the left does an amazing job of just, they run the smear campaign. Well, now that people aren't buying the smear campaign, it's getting to the point of lunacy. The amount of things and shock and awe mentally that they try to throw out there without any sort of validity, I think is really telling as to what's going on in the Democratic locker room right now. They're a mess, and they don't know why. They keep trying to blame everybody else for their losses, and then every once in a while you have somebody on the Democratic side who's a little bit more realistic, and they're like, hey, we should look at ourselves, and they eat their own at that point. So it's amazing to me that they're just getting worse instead of learning their lessons and trying to get better. And the other thing I want to say that I enjoyed at the press conference today, him saying, somebody said, hey, what sort of reforms would you recommend for the press? And he said, none. I wouldn't recommend any reforms, but what I would like is for them to find their moral compass and be a little more honest. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not directly quoting. But for him, and listen, you go from a president that's in office now who is trying to put government monitors in newsrooms all across the country a couple of years ago.
Which
we had
was
the whole
totally
wiretap.
ignored.
Yep, wholly ignored by the media because they were complicit. You had the wiretap issue that people forget all about that even happened. All these other things where he actually was trying to manipulate media from the inside as a government, totally against our First Amendment, which is what you, I, and everyone on our network was screaming about while it was going down. And then you have another president who says, no, there's no reforms that needed because constitutionally we shouldn't be doing that. We have freedom of the press, which is, I think, what he was getting at. However, I'm going to call on them as people and businesses to find their moral compass. I think that says a lot. I think that he, for all those people who says he doesn't understand the Constitution and blah, 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 that they like to throw out, I think that was a very, very intelligent comment by him as well to say, yeah, you know what? It's not my job to reform them. It's their job, and it's the people's job to keep them honest.
Let me jump in real quick,
media,
because I got a question for you. Have you noticed the left trying to use the words Constitution, talking about patriotism, the war vets? It seems like they're trying to use the wordings that conservatives have been using for years. It seems like they're trying to take that over because if they talk about it, whether they mean it or not, it's like they think everybody's going to jump on their side just because they're talking and saying this is unconstitutional, this is what's going on. Hillary was talking about after World War II, this is what the United States did and brought this world together, and we need to look at it and worry about what the world's going to do. It seems like they're trying to use our language, and I don't see it actually happening.
Well, actually, Joe, I think what happened is the word Constitution and patriotism finally came up on their Word of the Day calendar, and they just started using it.
I see.
They may not understand what it actually means and what it actually is, but they'll talk about it like crazy. You're 100%
affordable.
right. They use some of the key words that we've been saying forever. They got smoked in an election, not just in the presidential election, statewide. A lot of state seats went Republican that necessarily hadn't before. People are seeing through their crap that they've been throwing out for the last 8 years specifically. The last 8 years, the Democratic Party have been monsters. Before that, they were a little bit more reasonable, but you had a lot of blue dog Democrats retire and go away, and now these progressives have come into full power within their party. And now that you have these just lunacy of these progressive lefts, you're seeing them trying to use words that they don't even understand, which is the scariest part of it for me. I mean, like you said, they're using words like patriotism, which the funny part is 6 months ago even, the word patriotism was almost militant right.
Harry Reid was talking how un-American it is to be that it's actually a form of terrorism. I remember Harry Reid went on a whole tear on patriotism. I'm telling you, what we need to do as a station, we need to have a fundraiser, dictionaries for Democrats, because they don't seem to understand basic words. Affordable.
Yes, affordable. Well, and the problem, I always tell people when you talk about the Affordable Care Act, you have all of these people who are one percenters, even though they'll tell you the one percenters are evil. Most of them are one percenters.
But there'll always be a 1%.
So that money is affordable to them. It's not realistic. And the funny part is I love how the president, I believe it was the president this weekend, when he's talking about them, the Republicans going after Obamacare, he's like, they're going to have to change it to something. If they can change it to something, they can call it Trump care for all I care, but we all know that the groundwork was put there by us. And I was like, no. The groundwork.
He did something else there. He said that the plans that they have were what I came up with, and they refused to put in to correct the issue. So he never specifically said what it is. So no matter what they do, it's the plan he came up with to fix Obamacare that the Republicans obstructed on.
Well, and the best part about that comment, Joe, because I did hear that, is, hey, when this bill was passed, you had the House, the Senate, and the executive office. You guys could have put in there whatever you wanted to. We couldn't have stopped it. And you put in a bunch of failures. So now to turn around and say that we were the obstructionists on your plan when you have the House, the Senate, and the executive is BS.
Did you hear Nancy Pelosi, what she said?
I try to ignore her as much as humanly possible. So
do
go ahead
I,
and tell
but
me.
she said that it was passed bipartisan vote. Obamacare was a bipartisan legislative.
Well, the word bipartisan's cute because as long as you have one so-called Republican that votes for it, it becomes bipartisan.
Yeah, but zero voted for it. Zero.
Right. But
that woman needs help. She needs help.
Listen, you have her and Diane Frankenstein, both of them from the great state of California, which, listen, they're both insane. We know they're insane when it comes to politics. I mean, I can't legally say that they're insane because I'm not qualified, but I have my opinions. Their political views to me are insanity. I think it's Diane. It's one of the two of them, and I'm pretty sure it's Frankenstein, who hails from a city that doesn't hand out gun permits to anybody except for her and other elite people. These are the people who are in charge of that party. Hey, this is good for me, but not good for you because I'm more important.
Yep.
Meanwhile, you have Republicans trying to pass a reciprocity bill on CCW saying, hey, if you have one in this state, you should be able to have one in every state, just like your driver's license. And it only makes sense. And it protects that individual both physically with their CCW weapon, but more importantly, from government insanity. And they cite the case out of Pennsylvania where the woman with the CCW got arrested in your home state of New Jersey.
Yeah, that's... and why did Chris Christie step in? Because he was running for governor. Otherwise, he would have never stepped in on that incident.
And, it's one of those things, I don't care why he did it, the right thing was done there.
Yeah. I
know
agree.
it was for political gain, but it also sets a precedence in that state, which I think will carry out further down the line.
Well, the other thing, and I don't mean to jump in again, and I do apologize.
No, please, Joe, I love these conversations. So, this is how we get things done.
Before he was running for president, several people said, we got a Republican governor. Can we start looking at some pro-gun laws? And he turned around, he said, no, the gun laws are perfect the way they are. He didn't want to change them. Then he runs for president, and it's, I've set up a commission to relook at New Jersey's law to make it more gun-friendly. And now that he's out of the running again, that committee is nowhere to be found.
Well, and, the funny part is, when we look at these rhino Republicans, and, I always say Chris Christie is a Republican when you come to the state of New Jersey because they're so far left that he's almost a right-wing extremist. You put him in a regular group of Republicans, and he's a rhino at best.
Yeah.
That's not to say I hate Chris Christie, because I give him a lot of credit from when he was Attorney General and when he was actually going after bad guys. I thought he did a pretty good job. There's some decent things that he's done as state governor, but I don't think that he should be the party model. I think that he's Republican in a Democratic state who, like I said, he's a rhino, so he seems like an extremist. But, I've said time and again, people like Chris Christie are almost kind of important to those of us who are trying to get these states back to reality. Is they're never going to take somebody who is a Mike Pence or a hard conservative and elect them. You need to actually trickle in some of these rhinos to almost bring the light. Like, hey, I'm not going to put all this in front of you, but look at a couple of the good things that come from our train of thought. And then you can build off that. But the problem is the parties in those states need to go after that. That's one of my biggest issues with the Republican Party in California is they don't put up anybody who's electable. You either get a Republican with or a Democrat with an R next to their name, or the vice versa. That is, you get a true conservative who's running in an area that there's no way they can win. You're almost setting them up for failure because it's such a hard left area that they're not even going to have the conversation. And that's a fault of the Democrats. I agree. They should be open to that conversation. However, it is what it is, and you have to strategize in order to start bringing conservatism back to these areas. And you do that with somebody like a Chris Christie, where you're like, hey, we can make progress and actually get back to being constitutional and not drowning out little people, quote unquote, like myself. But, we're not so conservative that you're going to lose your mind. And then once they see it works, you're going to get some votes over it, just like Trump did. Hey, we went from a hard left president to a guy who is far more right than anyone gave him credit for, at least on the forefront. He hasn't done anything as president yet, but on the forefront, he seems like he's pretty far right. Maybe not the perfect conservative in a lot of people's eyes. I would say almost a modern conservative, if that term could be used, in the sense that, you know what, it can't be the grand old party. The grand old party is way too nice. And the new threat that we're dealing with on the left has to be dealt with differently.
Kel has a question for you.
Yes.
She wants to know, has Meryl Streep entered her submission to be an SHR radio host yet?
Meryl Streep? Yeah, we're not far. We're working on that with her. We're trying to get a couple things ironed out. Listen, this is Meryl Streep's one of those people. We know Hollywood's full of leftists. We know they're elite leftists. We know they're people that have no touch to reality when it comes to the everyday person. She's a great actress. I'll never take that away from her. I think she's an amazing actress.
I don't think so.
And that's where the line should end with these people. Oh, no, I think she's an amazing actress.
Well, that comes down to me and a neighbor got, and it comes down to taste of what people like. I mean, I don't think she's a bad actress, but I don't think she's this great actress either. She's I could take her or leave her type actress. But that comes down to personal taste. As an actress.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the problems is and shame on these award shows for not getting to these people saying, hey, if you win and you make a political statement, we're going to cut you off right away. Yeah. This isn't about politics. This is about entertainment. And I'm okay with it being about entertainment. Like I say it all the time, I don't care if the biggest leftist loons win Oscars because that's entertainment. It's when they start pushing their politics via that platform that I get aggravated.
They're there for entertainment.
You want to hold a private press conference and you want to start your own website for politics and all this other stuff, great. But when you're being elected or when you're being nominated for this award for your acting skills, have enough respect for the people that nominated you to keep it there and not be ridiculous with it. So, that's my personal belief. I've always said that. If they want to take to their own social media and all this other stuff, and start talking about politics, God bless them. They're citizens like you and I. They can do it.
Well, I don't know if you go onto Reaver, but I have that article I found. The person wrote about celebrities. It's basically just zip it. You're entertainment to us. That's all you for.
Yep.
Trying to tell us how to think and all that. And now I think it's got Rosie O'Donnell and several of them that are calling for a strike from Hollywood until he resigns or gets removed. So now you're trying to dictate what you want. You're more important than us.
But But that's great. You know what, Joe? Let them do that because
it shows they're ridiculous.
Then when California loses that major tax money from it and they actually have to start being reasonable with how they spend, I'm kind of okay with it. Listen, you want to be an obstructionist via movies and stuff like that? Awesome. I won't go see a movie. I don't care. There's a bunch of movies already out that I like. So, yeah, go for it, Rosie. I mean, you haven't been relative in 10 years. You might as well chime in now.
Well, I like
Right?
that they're doing all this because it's taking the mask off. You had after the shooting last Friday, you have several anti-gun groups that have taken the mask off and they're showing what they're really about because they've said they want to ban guns now outright.
Yeah,
they know that
of course.
And that's what they've always been, but they hid, and now the left is taking the mask off, and the world, and mostly Americans, are seeing what it's about, and I think it's pissing off the majority of Americans where they're going, no, I can't back this anymore. You know, and what do we...
This is
how
not
Trump...
common sense gun control.
Yeah, all that.
Common sense gun control is saying that the person who's been convicted of a felony cannot own a weapon because they've proven that they are not able to take care of their rights. That's common sense gun control. I would argue that in this specific situation, he was charged with domestic violence and had a history of mental illness. I personally don't think that he should have had a weapon.
He shouldn't underneath federal laws with I thought under federal laws he was not allowed to because of the domestic abuse charges.
Right. He had an open case of domestic violence. He had a history of being treated for mental illness.
But this
all
just
of those
proves
things are the problem.
60% of the mass shootings that have happened underneath Obama, and it's not directly Obama, but the policies that they push, 60% of the shooters were underneath psychiatric help. So it goes to prove that these people, they don't know when someone's going to do it. So this mental health, and I hate the push for mental health, because if you pay attention to these groups, they say they don't want people with mental issues owning guns. And then in the next sentence, they will say anybody that wants to own a gun has mental issues.
Right.
Let
that stand up in court. I understand the moving the goalposts. Let that stand up in court. Let's have that fight. Because I could argue that anybody who's ever owned a car is insane, because if you want to drive down a steel road at 85 miles an hour and that thing flips, you could kill yourself or somebody else. So we can have that argument.
Well, look what they're doing to the military guys. Well, you went to war. You got PTSD. You have a mental issue. You don't have a right to own a gun. Bam, gone.
Gone. But and again, that's completely untrue.
Oh, I agree. I'm not saying it's true.
But that's what they're going to throw a blanket. Every chance they get, they're going to throw a blanket over everything to try to make it all about the core issue. They're still not dealing with the fact that if there was appropriate protection in that airport, then less lives could have been lost.
And let's. I want to point out, being in Florida, I know the gun laws because what is it? Every town says, "Oh, that wasn't a gun-free zone." No, that was a gun-free zone. It is against the law in the state of Florida to carry a gun in any part of an airport. The shooting, because they brought up the shooting in Orlando. Bars are gun-free zone. Now, I don't agree with carrying a gun while you're out drinking. The two don't mix.
Right.
But
that's personal preference. I mean, I hate to say it.
No,
but
it
that
is.
becomes an issue of personal preference. And I agree with you. Listen, he should not have loaded. He should not have opened his bag, retrieved his weapon, loaded it while he was in the airport. It's against the law. But that doesn't change. They're going after being able to transport firearms via a plane now.
Yep.
And I said, this is absolutely ridiculous because you're arguing about how he got the weapon there. He could have walked easily in a baggage claim. If he was behind the security, it would be a different argument altogether. But he was in baggage claim. I could literally pull up to baggage claim, or anybody else could, and walk right in without being checked.
Yeah, I was going to make that point. So, he could have just walked in there and done it.
Yeah.
You can't put bubble wrap around everything.
Anyone with half a brain knows that you can buy an illegal weapon in any major city in about 2 hours if you look for it. If you have enough money in hand, you can do it.
Yep.
So even that, the argument again about these gun laws, all they're doing is trying to use it as a reason to limit law-abiding Americans who have a constitutional right And they're doing everything they can to destroy that because that's what the left does. They don't want you to have rights. So they exploit these incidents
They want
to
control.
go after good people.
They want control.
Right.
And I preach it and I push it on the show. It's just I learned the hard way what happens when a law-abiding citizen runs up against a criminal. And I dealt with the medical all my life, but helping my father. And he was never a gun owner, but like he said, because he wasn't allowed to carry, it took that one choice away from him. He understands, my family understands at any moment the criminals do not follow the laws, and that's what these left think. Well, who was it, Nancy Pelosi or Feinstein? Once the criminals realize that we are unarmed, they'll lay down their arms in brotherhood.
Yep, Frankenstein. She said that.
That's a mental illness right there.
Right. Because you're assuming, and I say this all the time, and I always bring it back to socialism. It's the same theory. Even if right now everybody in this world for an hour said, hey, you know what, we're never going to hurt anybody else again, blah, blah, blah. In this country, pick a state, pick a city, where you get everybody on board for about an hour of like, we're going to live by rules and we're not going to hurt anybody else. After that hour, somebody's going to go, yeah, but I want to grab that jacket from that guy real quick. So just once. It's the same as socialism.
Yeah.
It really is the same idea as socialism. Socialism in theory is a beautiful thing, right? Everybody does their equal share. Everyone works. Everyone rewards. The problem with socialism in reality is as soon as one person decides they're not going to do their fair share, the whole system's fucked.
But also, have you ever noticed the people that push for socialism are always exempt from giving up their money to be equals with others?
Yeah. Look at Bernie Sanders.
Oh, yeah.
Look at Bernie Sanders. I say this all the time. Here's a guy who is a card-carrying socialist, and when he ran, he stuck to his socialist values, and then he turned around and he was like, oh, I'm going to back Hillary because it's anything about power. And then he got into his $200,000 Audi talking about how he's a regular guy and drove away, and people still supported him. Oh, gosh.
His plane.
He's been successful.
His plane, the house they bought him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody who was a Bernie supporter who was mad at him for supporting Hillary, and I said, you realize that Bernie Sanders has worked in government his whole life. He's not an outsider.
Yeah.
He is not an outsider. He is the biggest insider going. He just says he's an outsider. It's leftist 101, right? It doesn't matter what you do. It's what you push. You keep pushing that you're this guy, and you get enough imbeciles to follow you, you become that guy, even if it's all BS.
Yep. You push a lie hard enough, it becomes a truth. And that's what the left does. And I love it when I start hearing Obama repeat the same thing over and over again. I've had no scandals. There's been no terrorist attack. I've had no scandals. There's no terrorist attack.
Yep.
And it starts going, right there's your lie.
Yeah, he's going after his legacy, right? Because he knows, and Clint brought this up on our show last week, he knows how history books get written. That quote will get written, but the person being taught that in school or college isn't going to be encouraged to go look at the facts. So what they're going to get is that one soundbite or that one quote out of a book 10 years from now, and it's going to go back on being a president who, hey, he's never had a scandal, and he's never had a mass shooting or any sort of international terrorist incident because it's right here in the book.
Yeah, that makes my head hurt.
I
don't know. When it comes to him, I don't know how history is going to write him because there's enough failure.
Short-term history will be very, very nice to him. Long-term history will be very, very bad.
Exactly. I'll agree to that one right there.
And I know you only got a second or two left here, but when we talk about the Orlando shooter, the other thing I want to caution about is going so quick to the mental illness portion and avoiding what he was saying to FBI during his investigation. Hey, I'm being forced by ISIS. Now, I know people think that means like a gun to the head forced by ISIS, but I think this guy converted. I really do. I think that this guy was being inspired by ISIS and all the other.
He thought he was underneath the investigation, so he ran into with that fake story to try to cover his trail.
Yep. And you know what? We also had a failure of our intelligence community.
Again.
Because the FBI interviewed him. He told them everything, and yet They still ignored it. They pushed him over to the local police department.
The Lando shooter was underneath FBI investigation. The San Bernardino was underneath FBI investigation. The Sarnak brothers
Boston.
were under. Yep, it just the list goes on and on and on. And I'm not blaming the FBI. What I'm blaming is Obama and his policies that have handcuffed the FBI that they can't do their job.
Yep. Well, and the other side of it too is, and I've talked about this time and again, is our intelligence not having the ability to keep up with the threat just because they're spread so thin, which I've talked about for years. I think is part of the terrorist ideals is, hey, you know what? You spread them so thin, we can start slipping through these cracks. And that's what we're seeing happen more and more. And I've been talking about it now for 2 years. That's what they're inundating our system. They're flooding our system.
Yep.
Look at Germany. Look at France. Their system's flooded, and they have all these attacks now. This is a reality. And hopefully we start getting an administration that recognizes this.
We do.
Deals with it.
I talked about it at the beginning of the show. I don't know if you saw it, the ISIS video they put out, where they have one is like a 10-year-old, another one's like right around a 7 and a 4-year-old, where they're killing people, and it doesn't even faze these kids. They're indoctrinating these kids to be psychopath, and it's scary that this is what we're fighting. And it's holy Nikes. We're running out of time now. And I really want to thank you, Sean. It's great having you. And anytime, all you have to do is pick the phone up and call on in.
Call your secretary and see if you have time. I remember, Joe. I know the routine. Hey, listen, I got your directives via the email from your secretary. So, I know.
So, it was great to have you, sir. And don't forget, everybody, tonight, Sackheads Radio. Tonight is the best night in conservative radio. It starts out with the Southside Mutts, followed by Ken the Conservative, and ends with the Sackheads Radio Show, only on SHR Media. Everybody have a great day. You've been listening to the Reaver of Common Sense with its host, Jersey Joe. You can tune in every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on hppundit.com and shrmedia.com.